Hey guys, Coach Kuiper here with another installment of Kuiper's Coaching Concepts, and today we're going to talk a little bit about fielding bunts from the pitcher's mound, including the various pieces of footwork and handwork that can go into helping you master this skill. This skill is completely under your control, and I'm a big believer that if something's within your control, let's work at it, let's become great at it, because there's so much in life and in baseball that's out of our control. We might as well take advantage of the things that are. All right, well, before we get into some of the foot and handwork, I just wanted to mention a few basic things that are going to apply to virtually all bunts. And the number one thing that I always preach, if you had to take any single thing away from this video or any of my bunt teachings and coachings, is 3 hard steps off the mound. 3 hard steps off the mound. 3 hard steps off the mound. So important, I'll say it 3 times. If you can take your first 3 hard steps off of the mound, it will put you in a position to make every single play easier. Okay? There's no real reason not to bounce as hard as you can off the mound to get there as fast as you can. Now, maybe I could argue and say on a wet, slippery day. Okay, sure. But aside from that, if you just start a lollygag, for lack of a better word, over to the ball, then you're just trying to make it a bang-bang play. And for a lot of you players who are coming up the various levels, the game will speed up, and the faster you can get to the ball, the more you're going to be able to make this a routine play, because you're going to have more time to make the play. Okay, so 3 hard steps off the mound, that's the number one thing. And then the next thing is the foot breakdown. I just want to mention that as you're approaching any baseball, because you're running fast, especially those first 3 steps, you have to decelerate. Okay, so you're going to want to take short, choppy steps down as you get to the ball. So break down, wide, short, choppy steps, and go from there. One of the next things that I'd like to talk about is glove hand versus bare hand. And a simple, very basic rule of thumb is, if the ball is moving, use your glove. If the ball is still, use your hand. And it's pretty basic. Now, is it going to apply in every single situation? Probably not, but in 90-95% of the situations it will. A lot of guys think it's cool and it looks like fun to use a bare hand, but quite frankly, for most players, that is a harder play. So, and in most of these situations, the play with the highest likelihood of success is the one where that ball is moving and to use that glove. You've got to use that internal clock and start figuring out, do I have to make a top 10 play or not? But let's just focus on the routine plays and getting kind of a methodology down to how you're going to field these balls. All right, so we talked about when it's moving, use the glove. When it's stopped, use your bare hand. Let's also talk a little bit about how do you take that bare hand ball. Again, this is going to apply whether it be first base, third base, etc. As you come down, and let's just say that you're going to bare hand this baseball, I would like to suggest grabbing some grass. You'll see me oftentimes put my throwing side foot on the outside of the baseball so that the ball is inside, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But for the short term, I just want you to focus on grabbing grass. And by doing so, what I mean is, if you come up to the baseball, if you run and then you're chopped down and you push down, you can see some grass. Okay, if I go in, you can probably see some of these grass blades that I grabbed as I'm doing it. Okay, grab grass. That's the easiest way I can describe it. As you're running down, break down, short, choppy steps, widen out, push the ball into the ground. What that's going to do is that's going to make sure 100% that you have the baseball. Okay, if you just think you're going to grab it, how many times have you seen a guy think they grab it, turn their head, and then all of a sudden that ball is left behind? If you push the ball down into the ground, you know you have it. Okay, it doesn't take that much longer. And then the other side of this is wet, slippery baseball. Okay, again, that thing, we play in the Northwest. That baseball can end up being a little bit slick. Okay, do yourself a favor, go push that baseball into the ground and make sure you've got good, solid control of it. All right, so let's move on to fielding bunts on the third base and first base side. All right, let's start off with the ones on the third base side. Let's just assume nobody on, nobody out, or there's a sacrifice situation where you're going to go ahead and take this third base line. Okay, pretty basic, but just like I showed you a moment ago, we're going to go ahead and charge the baseball, 3 hard steps off the mound. And what I want to do is I want to put this right foot on the outside on the third base line. And this is for us right-handers. I'm going to put this right foot on the outside of the line. okay? That way, as I come down, now again, whether it be rolling or bare hand, I'm going to field the baseball and push now off this stacked leg and throw all in one motion. A lot of times what you'll see guys, especially young guys, do is they'll run to the baseball and then they will take a shuffle step. As you elevate levels, the game speeds up to the point where you just simply do not have that much time. So what it's going to look like in close to full speed, I'm going to run, I'm going to plant, and I'm going to throw. Okay, it's just that simple. First base side. Okay, what are we going to do on a nobody on, nobody out, or a basic sacrifice situation? This one's a tougher play for me. This one's a tougher play, and I like to teach this one a little bit more to a player's comfort level. As they're running over, similar things apply, but in this situation, it becomes a tougher feel thing, and I think that there's more of a room for error on this particular play, because as we go down and field this ball, and again, most of the time it's probably going to be moving, so let me back up and say, as you're running, you're probably sprinting right to a ball that's on the line, so your direction's going this way, the ball's probably going this way, as well as your throw is going to have to go that way. So you really need to work hard at breaking down. If you are able to get to the ball while it's still rolling, you break down and you can field that baseball. Okay, you've got one of a couple scenarios to do, and I will let you practice either, see which one you feel more comfortable with. That ball's in your glove, you can either rock back, so let's do that again. So here, I might get it just like I did for the right-hander, I might rock and throw, okay? The challenge I have with that one is because we're running this way, I stop, and then I'm almost having to force a slight other direction, a rock and throw. I find that a lot of players, myself included, I ended up spiking this ball quite a bit because I'm not used to making this throw in quite such a manner. So what I did is I actually like to do a different one. Now again, speed is of the essence, but accuracy is important too. So again, let's say you get that ball in the glove. I think if you do a micro pop just to give yourself that setup, that tempo, that rhythm for that throw, I think that's going to be okay too. Ideally, you know, if you're someone who can feel this and throw, that's just fine. But I find that my rhythm and my lower upper sync is off, and I end up putting that one in the ground if I end up trying to rush that one a little bit. So those are two that I would recommend. Again, you can either field and rock just like you did on the third base side, or you can take a little micro shuffle just for the sake of getting into that power load position, essentially is all you're doing. So then you can deliver a quick, sharp throw. All right, so we did third base side, first base side, basic bunts. Let's talk about that play where we've got a man on second, man on first and second, and we're gonna have pitcher covering the third base side, and we're going to try to make that play at third base. And this is really just a drop step. So assuming I'm over here as the pitcher, throw the ball, remember 3 hard steps off the mound. As I come to get to this baseball, I need to first be listening to my field captain in the catcher. He can see everything, he's gonna know exactly where the play is gonna be. But I need to take the same angle, the same route, and prepare the same footwork every single time, just so that I cannot be caught off guard. If I'm thinking, if I'm trying to react, then if I don't know where the play is gonna go, I'm gonna be late. I need to anticipate that play is gonna go to third base. So I'm running, and I'm gonna go ahead and much like we took that step here to throw over to first, I'm gonna go ahead and put my foot at a deeper angle, okay? I'm gonna come around it, and I'm gonna plant, preparing for a drop step with my left foot. So I'm gonna come down and get it again, whether it's a glove or a bear, depending on whether that ball is moving or not. Okay, I'm gonna field it deep into my right side, okay? And I'm going to drop step and throw. So if we show that in more of a dynamic movement, run, 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 drop step, boom. Okay, now I have to be prepared to make that throw every single time. If I'm not sure which way I'm gonna go, that guy's gonna be safe. Now, ideally, let's talk about what happens in real life. Ideally, our catchers, they don't know where that play is gonna be, and maybe they don't have enough data points on how fast that runner is, how fast you are getting off the mound. So he might have been saying 3, 3, 3, and you're running, and you're about to make this play, and all of a sudden he says 1, right as you're preparing to make that drop step pivot. And now all of a sudden you have to reset, and a lot of times guys end up making this throw either late or errant. This one goes all over the place. I would recommend one of two things. Again, I think there's a couple different ways you can do this. I think you just need to make sure you practice and understand each has to be very specific in order to keep the accuracy of the play at the forefront. So again, we'll take the drop step example where all of a sudden the catcher says 1, or you see that guy's gonna be safe. You might wheel and come right back as one opportunity, follow the glove, as you probably have been told. The other one is opening it up. So if we go ahead and put the ball down, I come down, and he says 1, 1, 1. What I would rather probably see is a little bit of a shuffle step. I'm not going to get too frustrated or too worked up over footwork here, because let's face it, at this point, if we're having to shift directions, we probably had an issue with the catcher making a late decision for you, and it isn't a situation we want to put you as pitchers in to begin with. But so let's focus on the proper execution where you know which play it's going to be. But in this scenario, if you do field that ball off to the side and you're about to go first, if you do come back to 1, notice you're probably going to be open. Just make sure you try to get your shoulder squared up to the first base. This is a scenario I see all the time where a guy thinks he's going to go to third, then he goes to first, then he throws the ball over, that guy on third scores, next guy behind him scores, and then it's just a merry-go-round. And now we've got nobody on, man in scoring position, and then they go ahead and bunt it again. So let's avoid that one. I think that's for the most part it. One other thing I might mention is, when do you underhand versus overhand to first base? This is going to be for those plays over here at first. I would say if you feel that bunt and your momentum's already carrying you over toward the base, you can go ahead and stay under. That would probably be about the only time. Everything else, I would say just go ahead and make sure that you keep that upper and lower in rhythm and in sync, and you can deliver a nice, good quality strike over to first. We'll do another video on PFPs and we'll get into that a little bit more. But in the meantime, I hope this is helpful. I hope this is something that you guys can utilize to take your games to the next level or improve the fundamentals. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any other suggestions you'd like to see for future content, let me know. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. Have a good rest of your day.